5 key levers to help your supply chain and logistics performance in 2021. That's the topic for this week. Key things that I think you need to focus on based on hundreds of consulting assignments over the years, and I'll share that with you this week, coming right up. So it's a very common question. People ask me, if I want to fix up my supply chain in terms of cost and service and, make the whole thing more efficient, what should I focus on? Now, if I looked at our consulting business, Logistics Bureau, there's probably about 35, probably more, 40 key sort of service areas that we work on. There's S&OP and warehouse design and, freight negotiations and all manner of things. But there's 5 that consistently float to the top. And by that, I mean these are 5 areas of the supply chain that if you focus on, you're likely to get the maximum benefit from. So let me just work through what those are. So first of all, now if you're thinking of 2021, we really sort of get back to helping to fix our supply chain. 2020 was a bit of a drama for us. Lots of firefighting and trying to react to things. Hopefully things are settling down a little bit for you, and 2021 will be a bit more back to normal, where you can start focusing on some longer term opportunities in your supply chain. So what are the 5 things that I think you should consider? You don't have to do all of these 5, you don't have to do them in sequence, although I've kind of put them in a logical order. Number 1, cost to serve. It had to be there at number 1. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you all know that cost to serve is probably my favorite topic. Why? Because it identifies fantastic opportunities for supply chain improvement like nothing else. No, in fact, there is one other thing, and I'll mention that at the end. But if you don't understand the cost to serve in your supply chain, you are basically throwing money away. And if you're new to the concept, have a look around the channel. I'll put some links down below on some sort of basic cost to serve videos. But you need to understand the cost of every unit, every order, going through whatever channels of distribution to your customers, so that you understand the profitability of every single product, order, and customer. And why is that important? Because I think at least 10% of products and customers in most businesses I've worked with over the last 25 years don't make any money, they lose money. And if you have never done a cost to serve study, you won't know who they are. You'll have an inkling that this particular type of product or customer could be losing you money, but that might be 1%. You won't know what the other 9% are, because whenever I've done this analysis for our consulting clients, they didn't know. And there is no way of knowing unless you've done this type of analysis, because traditional reporting systems don't tell you. In fact, I may have mentioned this on another video, but probably 6 months ago, we did some work with a new client, and I cannot believe it, but 80% of their products were losing money. 80%. Absolutely phenomenal. And they didn't know, because the margins were so good on the other 20%, it was all hidden and masked. So, number 1, if you don't know your cost to serve, get into that early in 2021, because it will set you up for success. It'll show you all sorts of opportunity areas in your supply chain. Now, if you already know it, well done. Let's move on to number 2, customer service. And I've kind of put these in sequence because generally when we're doing a cost to serve study for some of our consulting clients, we will find that particular types of customers or types of products are being overserviced or underserviced. And that kind of gets us to loop back and have a look at the customer service policy. So very often, once you understand the cost to serve, you can start to then adapt your customer service policy so that you can actually gain the benefit that the cost to serve analysis identified. So let me try and think of an example. Say you did a cost to serve analysis, and typically, so I'm based in Australia, typically it'll be something like, oh, these smaller customers way out in the country areas, we don't make much money on. Fancy that. So let's pick a ridiculous example. You're doing 3 deliveries a week out to these country customers. You might want to reevaluate the customer service offer and look at the order sizes and the profitability of the orders and sort of say, well, what could we do to actually convince these customers to order once a week or once a fortnight? Coupled with the understanding of cost to serve, you will know the benefit of reducing the frequency of orders and increasing the size of the individual orders. That knowledge gives you the ability to negotiate with those customers and say, look, I know we're coming out to you 3 times a week, but it's very expensive. You don't necessarily need that level of service. If we're giving you consistent service, you probably don't need it. How about we come out once a week and we'll give you a 3% discount on the product or something? Understanding the cost to serve will always give you an opportunity to give something back to the client, to the customer, to get them to change their behaviours a bit. So understand your cost to serve. Number 2, have a look at your customer service policies and is it appropriate for different types of products, different types of customers. So I talked about a remote customer there. You might have certain products where it doesn't make sense for them to be delivered at the same service level as other products. Maybe they're extremely bulky or fragile, not necessarily required that urgently. Your business is going to be fairly unique, but there will be some of those. And you could say, actually, look, for this product, it's a 2-week delivery, for example. So customer service, really important. Number 3, and it's funny actually, as I go through this list, these all kind of fall together when we're doing consulting assignments, because number 3 is the distribution network. That is so closely coupled with the customer service offer. And you'll see lots of videos on this channel about distribution network design and network design generally. And what I'm usually talking about there is the fact that the shape of your distribution network, the number of stocking points you have and where they are, is totally dictated, 95% dictated by the customer service offer. And so we've got these constant loops, because if we go back to the cost to serve and we see that particular market segments for you or product segments are very high cost to serve, that gets you to rethink the service offer, gets you to rethink the network. And what kind of things might change within the network? Well, you may come to the conclusion that you don't need as many warehouses, or you do in fact need more to meet service requirements. You may also come to the conclusion that you don't actually need to hold your whole product range in every single warehouse, because some products, it's okay to have a slower service level. Maybe there's seasonal products and things like that. So the flow down from cost to serve, understanding customer service, to the network is very, very logical. What's the next one? Transport. And again, this is a very natural flow, because when we start looking at a distribution network, one of the big cost areas is the warehousing, obviously, and the number and location of those warehouses will have quite a significant cost on the cost of the distribution network. The other big cost is transport, freight. And literally been doing one over the last few months where, hundreds of millions of dollars of spend. And if you're moving product unnecessarily, or you're not moving product with the appropriate freight rates, and that's a whole topic in itself, you can be blowing a lot of money there. So we're not just talking about customer delivery freight, we're talking about inter-facility freight. So coming from your factories, from your suppliers, into your distribution centres. You may have transfers between distribution centres. You've then got your transport going out to customers. That's a huge opportunity area for you going forward to look at how you're utilising that transport, the service level that you're offering with that transport, but more importantly, the freight rate. And there's videos on the channel about freight rates. I'll try and remember to put a link down below or on one of the captions here. For example, a big mistake that companies make is paying the wrong freight rate. So, simple example, some time back I was working with a large retailer, and they had a third-party freight company moving product from their warehouses to their retail stores. The freight rate they were paying was a truckload rate, a load rate. So they had trucks going with a capacity of 22 pallets. Regardless of how many pallets were on the truck, they would pay a truck rate and off they'd go. I can't remember precisely how much the rate was. Interesting. Do you think the trucks were going full with 22 pallets every time? No, because that was no benefit to the transport company. If they were running late, they'd go half full, or there was no incentive to actually make sure the trucks were full. They switched to a pallet rate. Guess what? Every truck went out with 22 pallets on. So the freight rate does a couple of things. It drives the right behaviours for the freight company, and it also ensures that you're paying in the right way for the freight. So, you could have truck load rates, you could have pallet rates, you could have carton rates, you could have kilogram rates, all sorts of different rate structures for freight. You might be buying the wrong service. You might be buying express freight, whereas next day would be okay, or general freight. And that's a big area where people blow a lot of money. And it's not just inexperienced smaller companies. The big companies too make these sort of errors because they're dealing with so many different transport companies typically. It's a huge spend, dozens, if not, hundreds of different transport companies. It's very hard to kind of get down a couple of levels and analyse that detail. So well worth doing. Transport was number 4. What's going to be number 5? What would be your number 5, do you think, in terms of 5 key levers to look at in your supply chain? Got to be inventory. And again, it's all part of this sort of natural flow. Once we've got the cost to serve understanding and the customer service, and we've sorted our network and we've got the right transport rates, how much inventory have we got in that network? Have we deployed a full range of inventory in every facility? What's our lead times from suppliers? We could get back into supplier management. But typically, most companies don't have the right balance of inventory. For their fast movers, they might be running out of stock more than they would like. For their slow movers, they're probably carrying way too much stock. And look, it's not that hard to fix. So maybe if that's you, maybe make that a priority for 2021 and get into that. And in fact, in our consulting business, Logistics Bureau, through 2020, we've developed a couple of online sort of diagnostic tools that can help companies do that. So by all means, shout out if that could be of benefit. Now, I did mention a 6th one, because when I was talking about cost to serve, I said that understanding cost to serve is probably the most important thing in your supply chain to understand. Very closely linked with that, I'm going to add number 6, and that is benchmarking. So benchmarking for many years has been recognized as probably one of the most effective ways to drive business improvement, because it allows you to measure your own performance against others in your business, if it's a large multinational business particularly, but more importantly, against others external to your business in the industry. Because without benchmarking, you kind of don't know what good looks like. And on other videos, I've mentioned this before, where we've worked with clients, for example, let's just pick a very simple benchmark or a metric. How many picks per hour are people doing in your warehouse? And in this particular warehouse, it was automotive products that were big and bulky, and everything from engine blocks to door panels to windscreens to nuts and bolts. And so the order lines picked per hour were quite low, and it was down to about 15. And they thought that was pretty good. And we did some benchmarks, and we said, the best in your industry actually does 50. And they went, what? No way, we can't do that. And so we implemented a little bit of an efficiency plan, an improvement plan in the warehouse, and bit by bit, they improved their productivity, and they got everybody engaged and started improving productivity. They went past 50 lines per hour, and I think they ended up close to 60. So that's the benefit of benchmarking. I really should have called this 6 ways to improve your supply chain, or 6 levers, because just looking at your business, you're a little bit blinkered. You need to look at what others are doing in your industry and in other industries to know really what good looks like. So I'll stick a link down below on benchmarking as well, because we've recently developed some pretty cool benchmarking products there as well. Sorry, I didn't mean for this to be a sales video, but there's just a couple of things there that came up which I think are probably useful. Okay, so let's just quickly summarize. For 2021, what are you going to be looking at in your supply chain? You could look at a dozen things, but I reckon 5, pick from these 5. Maybe you know some of these, but understand your cost to serve. Really have a good look at your customer service policies by channel, by customer type, by product. Have a look at your network. Does that make sense? How you're actually servicing your customer base, the transport, the rate types, the service types, and then finally your inventory. Is that nicely balanced? Have you got the right sort of levels across your ABCs and slow movers and so on? So there we go, some thoughts for 2021. And that just remains then for me to wish you, I think this one's coming out before the holidays or during the holidays. So have a great holiday. I wish you all the best of health and happiness for 2021 and hope that things are going well in your business and your career and things are great with your family. We've gone through a pretty difficult year in 2020. So hopefully things are going to be looking up for you in 2021. If you're new to the channel, I do have to mention, hit subscribe, hit the bell. That way you'll be notified every time we have a new video coming out, and they come out every Tuesday evening Sydney time. And do please comment down below. I love to get the comments. The comments help me craft new video topics coming up. I can also look and see, which video's got the most comments and likes, and okay, that topic's popular, I'll do something else on that. So with that, I will stop rambling and see you soon. Next week, of course. Tuesday evening when the next video comes out. Bye for now.